Hi, professionals. Welcome to this week's episode of The New Professional. I am very excited to have Cierra Brown with us. Cierra, can you tell us a little bit about what you do and who you are?
All right. My name's Cierra Brown. I'm a graphic designer. I actually currently work at Lost Pearl Creative. We do all things graphic design. Really, we stay kind of in the web space, but we do all kinds of things as far as advertising and working campaigns and strategic moves as far as what businesses can do to improve their marketing. So
I've had the pleasure of working with Cierra a little bit over the last year with our company, Mongolian Concepts, where I currently work, and they've just done a phenomenal job. So I'm very excited to have her input today. One of the great things about Lost Pearl is that it is a virtual company, and they have people all over the country working on different things. They are mainly in Virginia and Texas, but they've been able to, between travel and having a virtual team, really meet the needs of the companies they work with. And I really want to focus on that virtual company today because it is a newer concept that with the rise of technology, Zoom, that people have been allowed to do. And there's a lot that goes into working from home. So, Cierra, what are some of the advantages you've seen working from a home environment?
The advantages, I would say, there's the obvious, like you can wear your pajama pants at work and, enter a little Zoom call and no one would ever be the wiser that you're wearing pajama pants or super comfortable. You get to be in your own space. I really enjoy that about remote work. You're also kind of at your own leisure and pace as far as how your work goes. So if I get a project, I can dictate when that project goes into motion and when I'm going to handle this process or that process, and no one's kind of breathing over your shoulder, which is an advantage. And it's kind of a disadvantage too, I would say. I love working from home. It's a love-hate relationship, I would say.
Yep. And Cierra's been lucky enough to get the cutest little dog recently, and that's been really adorable in our meetings to just, oh, okay, how's Jupiter? She holds him up. So I would personally think that that's a lot of fun.
Yeah, working with your baby. It's good. It's promoting separation anxiety, I think, but I think it's been working out pretty well. Yeah, he loves it.
So you mentioned a little bit a disadvantage. Do you see other disadvantages with working from home? What are some of the challenges there?
It is so difficult to find work-life balance when you're in work at home. So it's like this area that I work in, I kind of interact with it on a day-to-day basis. So whenever I come through here, I have to think about all the things that I'm doing. And I'm tempted by my computer, I would say, is the problem. Is I could come and work at any point in time and get all the things that I need to do done, and I can stress myself out about it. And it's tough to separate and just relax for a little while. I would say, and I just recently graduated. So I graduated from college in 2021. So we were still kind of in the throes of the pandemic, and most of our classes were virtual. And it's way harder to work on something at home when your home is like a 10 by 7 apartment space and everything is just kind of slapped together, and your desk is next to your bed, is next to your, eating area. It's so difficult to be able to find a haven away from that. And I would say that that's kind of the biggest disadvantages as far as working from home.
Absolutely. I can see how your living room, your bedroom, and your office being all in the same space could become a mental challenge to separate yourself from that. So when you are trying to plan your day to make sure that you have that balance, what are some of the things you take into account to plan for your work day and your personal life?
This is kind of where getting a dog has helped me because I have been I'm a known kind of workaholic if I have the chance and opportunity. So I wake up immediately. I know that I have to tucker out my little guy, and that kind of gives me the space to decompress. And so I am kind of on Jupiter's schedule in a lot of ways, but thankfully it has given me a place to take a breath, I guess, from work, where I wouldn't naturally be inclined to do so.
Creating a commitment of some sort. So maybe for people who don't have dogs, I go to yoga at 7 a.m.
Right.
I had a roommate once who worked from home, and what she did is she went to the gym for 1 to 2 hours every morning to reset. So she wasn't home. She went from her room, the kitchen, to the gym, and when she came home, she was already dressed. She got ready at the gym, and she would sit in her office, and that's my separation. That's my leaving and coming back, is leaving my house and coming back to work.
Right.
And I really just thought that was a great way to approach breaking up your day, is by creating your own commitments and holding yourself to them.
Right. And that's the biggest thing, is kind of holding yourself to them. Thankfully, I have something that it's not flexible as far as keeping holding myself to it. But if you can develop some sort of health or self-care routine, I know that in the morning I do a little bit of skincare, and it's 10 minutes, but it's something that just is a commitment to me. And I think that's kind of the same thing as your friend with the gym, is you have to commit a certain amount of time to yourself when you're spending your entire day in front of your computer. And I think that's the case for all jobs. You know what I mean? Be it working at Starbucks or on the computer in your room. I think that's super important.
So you set your needs. Mm-hmm. You take care of yourself. You do your skincare routine. You tire out your dog, mm-hmm. and that's kind of your reset for the day. Yeah. When you do sit down for work, working from home probably has a lot more self-management to it, right? How do you kind of sort out what your priorities for the day are?
We utilize a platform called Trello and Asana. We use to keep everything organized, and we use that basically as our backbone and support the thing breathing down our neck, I would say. Right, where we don't have a boss, we have at least a system in place to remind us what's going on, remind us that this is due, that is due, that people are looking for this. I think it definitely takes a system, and I don't think that everyone has a specific answer to that system, but if you can develop a system for yourself. I used to do a thing with sticky notes when I was at school, and I would have my desktop and I would stick my sticky notes at the top, and it would just be all the things that I need to do and then highest priority on one side. That way I could just knock it off, and then I would be able to move forward, and I feel like I have things going and moving. That's always, I think
and that visual representation of, I did this, it's in the done pile, right. And you can kind of see it grow. That would be I love that tool, because that would be great for me mentally. I personally keep a spreadsheet at work to help me manage my day, because I do a lot of self-management. Right. And it's very similar to the Trello, Asana. Again, this episode is not sponsored, but if Asana wanted to sponsor this episode, I would be okay with that. But I keep a spreadsheet, and when I'm done, I don't just delete what I did off of the spreadsheet. I put it on a separate page, because some days it's so easy to get bogged down with it. Just the list never ends, and sometimes you need to go back and look at everything I did. It's okay if I leave on time today.
Yeah, exactly. It's about being able to remember those accomplishments, especially when you're at your own discretion, because there's nobody that's behind you or next to you to say, good job on that project that you finished up. It's going to have to be you when you work from home. And it's just being able to self-satisfy or being able to self-actualize. It is very important in that situation.
And that goes back to creating a good work-life balance, too, because it can be so easy to look at all the stuff on the list. You know what I put on my list? I writing my list for the day on there too. So as soon as I'm done writing out everything I have to do for that day specifically, I've already accomplished something, and it just kind of snowballs. It's like, that was so easy, and it's going to help me for the rest of the day. So give yourself the advantage, create a snowball effect, little things first for me personally. I know some people like to get the big things out of the way. I need to build up to those big things. And so we talked about Asana and Trello and using the spreadsheet method so what I want our listeners to take home is it doesn't really matter how you do it. It just matters that you have a system in place to make sure that you are accomplishing what you need to do when you are self-managing. Because you could be in a position where somebody hands you what you need to do every day, but chances are, in this day and age, people are giving you a list of things and an expectation, and you're really going to need to self-manage, which is great because the more you self-manage, the better you're going to get at it. And the more career opportunities, because people will know they don't need to hold your hand to get stuff done. So if you are in the position to self-manage, take advantage of it. It can be really hard sometimes, but don't get discouraged. Just realize that it is helping you get to the point where you're not only managing yourself, but hopefully you'll get to the point where you have the opportunity to manage others. With all of that being said, do you ever get the struggle or have the feeling of burning out when you can't have those days? How do you deal with that?
How do I deal with it? Personally, I do a lot of meditation. I do have a good support system in place where I have friends, even work friends, that I'll just speak to and have a good time with. And I think that helps to be able to kind of decompress, because it's a lot of pressure when everything is kind of on you to manage things, I would say. And that's kind of where that disadvantage comes in. So we need to be able to manage that pressure by maybe seeing how other people are feeling and then kind of connecting in that way. I would say that my team is actually a very big part of why I don't get crazily burnt out, is because I know that I can go to this or that person and look for some sort of answer or response or communication just in general, and I know that they'll have my back in the end, and having that support system is such an important thing.
I love to see when people have that support system at work, because there's nothing more important than being able to ask for help when you need it.
Right, and I was so concerned when I first started a remote position, because I've worked in stores. I've always commuted to work. And so I would always see people in person, and I'm sort of a people person in that way, is that I kind of feed off of that energy. And so when I was going to this remote position, I was worried because I knew that I was going to be alone with my computer always. And it felt like it was going to be a lonely experience. Since starting at Lost Pearl, I've made, I would say, a few friends, and one of them, is Lynn, and Lynn and I are on a call all day, pretty much every day during the week. And that kind of is, sort of healthy, sort of not.
You've created your own virtual workspace.
Right, exactly. And it's so helpful to be able to see I'm not the only person that's getting things done, and I can see things in motion. And if she needs anything, if I need anything, I know that either of us have our backs. So, being able to have that kind of workspace and my little cubicle with her little cubicle is very nice.
Just sitting there on your desktop.
Right.
Yeah, I love that. I did see somebody using that technique recently, and they're like, we just have this link and anybody can pop on to it during the day.
Right. Lost Pearl has that as well. I know that Lynn and I are very good friends, so we kind of do our own separate things sometimes. But Lost Pearl, I know you can jump into chat anytime and just, meet and have fun. And it doesn't always have to be about work all day, It can be a little breath.
You can create that. Even when you're working in an office setting, I mean, I don't know how many times I'm like, I need to get up from this desk and I need to go talk to somebody about...
Right.
Just anything but this.
Right, exactly.
Can I help you move some boxes for 20 minutes? Like, it's still getting stuff done, but it's a totally different part of your brain.
Right.
So,
yeah.
Creating those opportunities for yourself to hop into other people's projects to give yourself a little bit of a break. I love the way that you guys are facilitating that with creating your own digital cubicles in a sense.
Right.
What made you had some trepidation about joining a virtual company. What ultimately made you decide to go that route?
I wanted to find a job that I could commute to, but half and half. And then it became, I want to do this, and this at home. A lot of that was a dog. I'm not going to lie. Not to make this entire podcast about my lovely dog.
You know what? Jupiter's so cute. We're gonna need a photo of him for the blog post so that everybody can understand that this dog is worth staying home for.
Exactly. So I definitely was planning on getting a dog. My mom is getting a little older. I definitely wanted to make sure that I was taking care of her while she was here. And it just became so much about the convenience of being at home that suddenly I wasn't considering commuting too much anymore. I was like, maybe I could stand remote work. And I'm really glad that I did.
For somebody looking for a virtual position or maybe considering one, what are some green flags that they should be looking for? What are some things that are going to tell them that this company knows what they're doing and that you can be successful working virtually?
I would say that they have systems in place to keep you on some form of track, that they have good communication. I would say if you go into an interview and it doesn't seem like that they would have good communication with you, or they just thrust work on you and say goodbye, I would say that doesn't really bode well for a remote environment. You definitely want to work for a company that has good communication set up within their systems.
I think we have seen that as we've talked about Trello, Asana. Another great tool is Slack, because that'll bring your whole team together, or even some of your clients. We've used that before. I think that if you are looking to work fully virtually, or with a company that will allow you to work virtually 2 to 3 times a week, make sure that there are systems in place that they are used to using, and if they're not already there, that they are going to be early adopters of technology. For me, the biggest thing is knowing that my boss, if I'm working from home, I can text him, I can email him, and I will have my answer quickly. I do go into the office most days, but I have the ability to work from home 1 or 2 days a week, and that's been the biggest blessing for me. But if I didn't have a boss who was tech savvy or willing to learn those tricks, it wouldn't work.
Right.
And so that advantage would actually just become a problem.
Right. Exactly.
So if you are looking for a job that allows you to either work partially virtually or fully virtually, ask them what technology they're utilizing to help keep their team together, to make sure that you will continue to meet their expectations.
Yeah, definitely ask what your day-to-day will look like. And I think that will answer a lot of questions for you.
So to wrap this up for the day, Cierra, what is some advice you would give somebody as they are starting on this journey of working from home? What are some things that they need to do on day one?
Make sure that you're not putting too much pressure on yourself. That would be my first advice. It won't be the end of the world if you don't get every single thing done immediately. it's a building process. There's always going to be an adjustment when you're working from home, be it if your desk is a little wobbly or you don't have the right tools in front of you, you don't have the right keyboard, yada, yada, yada. It's a building process. It's something that you'll have to adjust to inevitably. And just learn from it, I would say. Learn from it.
Yeah. And whatever you do, wherever you go, give yourself the opportunity to learn.
Yep.
In good situations, in terrible ones, especially the terrible ones, I think, like, if you find out that this just absolutely doesn't work for you, don't look at that as
Right.
I'm a failure. Look at it as, I was able to try that and I know why it didn't work and I know myself better.
Right.
But if you are lucky enough to be able to work virtually and it works for you, what a great advantage to being able to create a better work-life balance, to be able to prioritize what's really important to you and still contribute in the business world. Well, Cierra, I really appreciate you taking this time to meet with me. I'm so glad we got the opportunity to. If people need to find Lost Pearl, where can they find them?
You can find us on Instagram. You could find us also at lostpearlcreative.com. I know that we're going to be teasing a little bit of something soon. We're going to be...
Absolutely. So follow their Instagram now so that you can be in on those exciting changes.
Thank you so much.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you.